Hello, my name is Jess Adamson. Welcome to the Breakthrough podcast, brought to you by Breakthrough Mental Health Research Foundation, Australia's only dedicated mental health research organisation. In this series, we'll be talking to courageous people who share their personal stories about their lived experience of mental health issues. We'll also be talking to researchers in the field to get an understanding of the how and why of mental illness. Mental illness is going to be the biggest health challenge in our lifetime. It consumes lives, it ruins lives, it takes lives. But it's time the question was answered. Why does it happen? And more importantly, how can we stop it? If you find anything spoken about in today's episode distressing, please contact Mental Health Emergency on 131465. Dual Magarey medallist and Sturt premiership captain Zane Kirkwood raised almost $40,000 for Breakthrough by riding nearly 3,000 kilometres in his Whatever It Takes campaign from Perth to Adelaide in 2019. He wanted to raise awareness for mental health issues following his own struggles and help break down the stigma and offer support to others with mental health issues. With Zane Kirkwood and John Mannion, welcome to our Breakthrough podcast. Zane, you're one of the most respected players in the SANFL. You're known for your on-field courage, but underneath all that, you had a giant struggle on your hands, didn't you, when you were playing footy?
Yeah, I guess something that I have recently spoken about to, I guess, the public is something that was going on for me behind closed doors and something I kept away from pretty much everyone, even my partner and family. And then, decided that enough was enough and I wanted to talk about it and help some people if I could. And, I guess that's where I'm at now.
When did you first realise that you needed help? Was it at a young age or later when you were playing footy?
Probably at different stages. Obviously, when I was pretty young, I was first told I had anxiety problems when I was in year 6 in primary school, which led to, I guess, to bouts of depression throughout my life. And it was probably 2 years ago, about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, where I found myself really in a pretty bad spot, and I put my hand up to my partner and then my family to try and help me out. And it was a pretty tough period, but it's something that I'm looking back on and I'm so thankful that I did, because who knows where it could have gone. But the support that I've received is definitely putting me in the right path.
You say you were in a pretty bad spot. Can you paint a picture for us of what your life was like? Yeah,
I guess it ended up where I left my job. I wasn't working. I wasn't leaving home. I was struggling to just get out of bed, just go to the couch. I just had no motivation to do anything, even footy, which had been the constant joy, I guess, in my life and release from everything. I wasn't enjoying that. And I really struggled just with day-to-day things. Wasn't eating properly, wasn't sleeping. There was a period, it was just before a game of footy, I think it was 3 days before, leading up to the game, I had about 6 hours sleep altogether, and it just wasn't a good build-up. And then coming home, I was hallucinating, seeing things, and it was a pretty bad spot where I was at.
How were you when you were on field? How did you get through a footy game? Was that all good when you put your boots on?
Different days brought different things. I think that's one thing that I found just in everyday life, but especially with footy. There was times when I was actually on the ground, I was okay, but then come to the bench and I'd start, almost having a panic attack on the bench, and I'd wrap my head in a towel and just try and calm down. One game in particular, I did have a panic attack at halftime of the game and then after the game as well. And that was probably the point where I thought to myself, I need to tell my teammates what's going on, because at that stage they didn't know. That was probably the point where I thought this is something I need to share and get the support from my teammates, which I did, and I couldn't thank them for. Like, it was great support. There
was one day, I know, where you had to call your coach, I think it was. You were lost. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it was probably a combination of a few things. I was trying to go back to getting into work, also trying to manage getting into seeing, at that stage, a psychologist or a GP, the first step. And I was yeah, I was a bit worked up from the day, getting back into work, normal anxieties for everyone. And then driving to training, I just felt like everything was closing in. I called it a bit of blinkers, what horses have on. Just felt like I could only see in a tunnel sort of thing. And received a phone call from a doctor's surgery when I was booking in to go to a GP, and it didn't go very well. And that was no fault of the person on the phone, but I didn't appreciate how they spoke, and that kind of just set me off. And I had a panic attack driving, and a road that I've driven on, countless times going to training. I didn't know where I was. I had to pull over. Luckily, someone walked past, and they saw me in the car, kind of having a panic attack, and they asked what was going on, and I gave them my phone, and they called up my coach and head trainer, and they came and got me. And it was a pretty scary time. Just how the mind kind of took over everything, and just kind of lost my bearings of where I was at, and couldn't really control what was going on.
Yeah. How did you feel when you did tell your teammates and your coach and everybody else at the club?
Obviously, it was a pretty nerve-wracking time, but my, thought process with going into it was, if another person in the team was feeling the same way and didn't feel like they could tell anyone, I wanted them to know that there was they weren't alone, sort of thing. There was quite a few times I'd be at home, and I was captain as well at the time, and I was crying to my partner Brooke of I couldn't help but feel bad that if someone else was feeling that way, if one of my teammates was feeling that way and they couldn't get help, I felt not guilty, but I felt like I had to help. I think that really gave me the chance to do that, and speak with them, and I guess the response I got from my teammates. I said I didn't want any extra attention or be treated differently. I just want people to know that this is common, and it's not a thing to shy away from. To put your hand up and speak to the appropriate people, your family or a doctor or whatever, your mates, because the more you talk about it, the easier it is to prevent. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you bravely spoke out publicly. And did you receive fantastic support after that? Was it all good?
Yeah, it was. Obviously, it was pretty. Again, that's the next step. It was pretty nerve-wracking, and I get nervous over most things. That was. It was daunting, but I received some great support from people that I've obviously known all my life, but then people I've maybe met once or twice reach out, and that kind of fills you with confidence that it is common, and the more people going through it together and working towards the goal together it's a good thing, but we just got to keep going with it.
We do. John, I'm going to bring you in here. Why is Zane's story so important to share?
Oh, I think the story is just so powerful. It's powerful in the fact that Zane shares it. So as he rightly said, he wanted to make sure that he could actually use that in a really, really positive way to help other people. When me and Zane met, we'd been doing a presentation, and I was talking about anxiety, and Zane came up to me afterwards and just said to me, "You just described my life," and he started explaining all the statistics that we talk about. That 1 in 4 people will experience an anxiety issue. 1 in 3 of those will be women, 1 in 5 men. The battle of actually holding your hand up and actually saying it's me. All those stigma pieces. Zane said, "That's me. What can I do about it? I want to be able to share it. I want to be able to use it." So it's an incredibly powerful story, especially if you look at it. Most people would then look at Zane as this incredible sports star. To win the Magarey medal twice, you've got to be pretty good at the game, and to be playing that midfield role and that ruthless tackler. Then put your hand up and say, I struggle from anxiety, and that not to be seen as a sign of weakness and not to be seen as a negative, but actually, again, to be seen as another strength. That story has been incredible. And last year, Zane did a bike ride as a fundraiser for Breakthrough, which, most people would perhaps, I did a bike ride for Breakthrough and it was 23 kilometres. Zane decided to ride all the way from Perth back to Adelaide on a bike and on a skateboard. which, you know, is pretty incredible. But to do that was then to spread the message to actually say, here's a challenge, but here's another challenge. The challenge I'm facing is anxiety. And the messages that came through, the connections, the schools that wanted Zane to go and talk to them, the mental health groups that wanted to connect. And then when he arrived back into Adelaide, seeing his whole team and everyone from Sturt Footy Club at the Oval waiting for him to come. I mean, that must have been an incredible emotion. I was like, my hairs were up on my neck, and I was like,
Mine are up now.
Swallowing, trying to be very brave, etc. And in came this guy and just smiled at everybody. But that emotion that must have been in there when he'd actually finished that ride with his dad and his brother, and the journey they'd gone on through that, that's powerful because it connects people. It normalizes things. It breaks down that stigma and discrimination that we actually often face about, if I own up to struggling with mental health, is that a sign of weakness? Well, actually, no, it's not. It's a sign of strength. It's a sign of this connectivity. And from Zane's perspective, his want and wish to make sure that no one else struggles through that. And if they do, that he's there to help them. That's incredible. That's powerful.
Yeah. Zane, you went from not being able to walk to the shops to riding 3,000 Ks from Perth to Adelaide. How did it feel to ride into Unley Oval?
Yeah, I was just thinking back to when John was saying that, and everyone was pumped up and excited, and I just wanted to go home to bed at that stage. It was obviously quite a big, I guess, from when I couldn't leave home to then. I guess it started with just walking a lap of the block and doing that every day, which is only probably 400 metres. I remember the first time I did it, I pretty much sprinted around the block, got home, locked the doors, pulled the curtains and just sat in the dark sort of thing. But I saw that as a positive to tick it off and then do it again the next day and gradually get bigger. We'll go a bigger block, we'll go to the shop to get a coffee. Shopping malls I really struggled with, and I spoke to my partner Brooke about that, and we built up of going to Mannion. We'd start at the top, we'd go to the big Mannion, and I remember the first time we did it, I had a bit of a panic attack probably 10 minutes in. We went home, but then we went back next week and I lasted half an hour and just gradually built up to that. Same with getting on the bike. Just started small, gradually got bigger, and then went from there. I had a bit of, pushback from my family of maybe I wasn't right to do it, both physically and mentally where I was at that time. But I went to a mental health in sport conference where Anna Mears spoke, and she spoke of how she broke her neck and was told she wouldn't go to the Olympics, and she said, "Oh, I'm going to go," and everyone around her said, "No, you're not." I think it was 8 months before the Olympics, and she got on the bike a week later and then went to the Olympics and won a silver medal in her event. And I remember that moment, her speaking, and I was like, "That's it, I'm going. I'm going to do the ride." And I spoke to my parents later that day. I went home and told them, and I think they saw how serious I was, and from then on it was just full steam ahead, just getting everything sorted, and kind of went from there.
Why breakthrough? Are you believe strongly in research being the key?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I think finding out what is causing it and how we can prevent it. I want to help that kid in year 6 who doesn't know what's going on, who gets told they've got anxiety problems. How can we help them and for them to understand it? So that's I think something that John and all of Breakthrough have expressed the whole time I've known them, and I've just been really pleased to have worked with them and helping them in any way I can towards finding out how we can help people in any way. I think that's something that I saw in Breakthrough, and then they've supported me so well. It's been constantly. John throws me a message and I don't write back a lot of the time because I'm a bit of a bad with the phone, but he's always checking in and seeing how I'm going, and I think when you've got that as a personal side, then to the business side, I think you can't fault them or go wrong with that. So just great people to work with.
They certainly are. With the backing of Breakthrough, you've gone on to complete a mental health first aid training course. What prompted you to do that?
Again, wanting to help people. Just I guess getting that more training would be how you can help people going through it, and just I guess enhancing your skills with that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Because, John, a first aid kit, as you know, many people know it, is the kind of white box with the Band-Aids and a few bandages in it. But in fact, mental health first aid is really gaining momentum, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Mental Health First Aid Australia is an accredited organisation. It's another not-for-profit, but they've developed this sort of 2-day mental health first aid training program, which is the CPR for mental health. What it does, it teaches people about the signs, the symptoms, and then the strategies to put into place. In the same way you would do if you saw somebody choking or if someone was having a heart attack. Why can't you do the same thing if you actually saw somebody you knew or didn't even know actually having a panic attack or was actually feeling sort of withdrawn and experiencing depression? So it really teaches you the skills to actually do that. We want to really use it to help with that mental health conversation and actually look at empowering people in the community. And that's through a program we're doing with Sport SA and also with the Sandful League, where we're actually looking at developing a whole range of ambassadors in each of those sporting clubs. So there's 2 people in every sporting club then can actually have that mental health conversation for people. Our ultimate aim is to then get Zane trained as a trainer with me. That's our next goal, because we really want the knowledge and the skills that Zane's got. Imagine if you put then the program behind that and him coming out and actually teaching the sort of the role modelling he'll be able to provide, and that connectivity with a whole range of sporting clubs and schools, etc., will have a really positive impact. So we want to really drive that. But yeah, mental first aid, I think, is an incredible skill to actually have, and I think if the more we can actually roll it out into our community, the better impact it is, because it's that early intervention piece of work.
You've been out and about teaching it to various people over the last few weeks. Tell us about some of the people that you've met.
Yeah, we've done it in a couple of different strategies. So we've got a program that we're actually rolling out in our sporting communities, but we've also then been doing it as part of the bushfire recovery plan. And that was a program really that a number of breakthrough supporters got behind. They wanted to provide some money for and some investment so we could actually provide the mental health first aid training to those local communities that have been impacted by the bushfire, but also to make it free. The last thing you want to do when you're actually going through this whole range of turmoil is have to then fill in a whole range of documentation and send off money, etc., to take part in a course. Whereas if you can actually access that for free, it's going to build up all these skills for you. It's really, really impactful. So yeah, we've rolled it out, and we've done 2 sessions up in Adelaide Hills so far, one in Cudley Creek, one in Woodside. Last week we were over on Kangaroo Island doing a session over there. We've got 2 more in the hills that's taking place next week, and then back into KI in the new year. And the aim really was we wanted to sort of connect with people who'd gone through that sort of trauma, gone through the bushfire, and for some people it was to help them. So it was for some that we met members who'd actually worked for CFS, and they'd been trapped behind their fire truck, watched their loved ones and their colleagues getting trapped. A couple of the members of the team had actually collapsed under the heat, etc. But they survived, and then they wanted to understand, well, what did that really mean, and the complexity and the trauma that sits with that later. How can we help each other if that happens again? What's the signs we need to look out for? What's the interventions we can put into place? Through to other people who all their neighbours had lost their houses and their house stayed, and they feel the guilt of, well, why was that me? And how do I understand my thoughts and feelings for that? Through to a couple of older community members who are members of the local church, and they wanted to make sure that they were accessible. If anybody knocked on the church door, they could help them if they needed to, and how to have that mental health conversation in a safe way. Because we obviously have a whole range of campaigns and strategies where we encourage people to open up about their mental health. What happens if you actually ask the question, are you okay, and someone says no? And have we given people the skills to have that conversation? And this whole program actually does that for you. So it's very, very empowering. It's delivered at a community level. It's delivered at anybody can have the conversation. Anybody can put an intervention into place. And if someone opens up to you and starts to talk to you about their mental health challenges, you are doing something incredible because you made them feel safe. And that's really, really empowering. It's empowering for the person that reached out because they felt you might be able to help them. But it's empowering for you, and it's great for your own mental health and well-being when you realise I was actually able to help somebody else. And we've found through the programme, we're getting phone calls from people who are calling me up saying, I put a mental health plan in place for someone today and I wouldn't have been able to do that, and I felt great because I could help them and they've got the help they needed. And that's a beautiful way in which you can connect with people.
And Zane, that really touches on you being in a good space more so now because you do feel like you're helping people all the time. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely tracking in the right direction. And yeah, I do get the occasional people reaching out and, what do you do in this situation? Or I've noticed this going on. Is this something that you've gone through? And just to talk to people. I've had a few Sturt fans grab me before games and ask me, is this normal, sort of thing? And I think that's everyone goes through a bit different. I've noticed what one thing that someone's going through I haven't, or what I'm going through someone else isn't. So it's a bit of a tricky one, but it is good to, I guess, give a bit of advice where you can and just try and help people, and then to get that feedback after of thank you, what you suggested or what you do has helped me, and that makes you, I guess, get a bit of a bounce in the step and makes it easier to walk out the front door of a start of a day, sort of thing. So yeah.
How proud are you of yourself, and how proud are your mum and dad and Brooke?
I'm probably pretty hard on myself, so I think there's still more to go. But I think I was only talking to mum and dad and Brooke on the weekend about it, and just how probably this time last year we were building up to go on the ride, and how different this year's been to last year, and where I'm at. Like I said, I guess I'm tracking in that right direction. Obviously, you still have those days where you might fall down a little bit, but I think I've noticed and I've been able to get out of it quicker than I usually used to, and just try and, I guess, tick off little wins rather than dwell on what didn't go right. So, I guess it's still going, but no, I'm definitely in a lot better spot than where I was probably a year and a half ago.
That's fantastic news. Thank you for everything that you are doing for South Australia and for so many people and for Breakthrough. And we really appreciate you sharing your story today. And thank you, John.
Thanks very much, Jess.
Thank you for joining us as we share these extremely personal and important stories. If you would like to donate to Breakthrough Mental Health Research Foundation, please visit breakthroughfoundation.org.au. If anything spoken about in today's episode has been distressing for you, please contact Mental Health Emergency on 131465. We will have other resources in our show notes. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jess Adamson, and let's all tackle mental health head on.